Sunday, April 19th, the North Arabian Sea. A single gunshot echoes across the water as the U.S. Navy disables the Iranian cargo ship Touska. This isn't just a seizure, it's a global economic hard stop, a signal that the mechanics of trade are now being enforced with firepower. Welcome back to Yearn to Grow. This channel is about understanding finance and insurance clearly and calmly. No pressure, no shortcuts, just clarity. Today we analyze a world on the brink. We are bridging the gap between trade resets in Washington and naval blockades in the Gulf. This is the new reality. Today, April 20th, 2026, marks the first in-person meeting between India and the United States since the Trump-Modi framework was announced in February. The mission is clear: finalize a bilateral trade agreement to secure India's economic future against the rising tide of global volatility. The stakes are high. A 12-member Indian team, led by Darpan Jain from the Department of Commerce, has landed. They carry three critical objectives that will define the decade. Objective 1, recalibrate. They must adjust the February 7 joint statement to account for a brand new U.S. temporary tariff regime that is shifting the map. This recalibration isn't just about numbers, it's about alignment. India needs to ensure its domestic industries are protected while adhering to new doctrines. The February 7 joint statement was the foundation, but the new U.S. tariff regime requires a surgical adjustment to keep the momentum going without friction. Objective 2, competitiveness. Secured an 18% preferential rate to stay ahead of regional competitors like Vietnam, currently at 20%, and China at 35%. This 18% rate is the magic number. It creates a cost advantage that redirects global supply chains toward New Delhi, making India the factory of choice. Objective 3, the Section 301 defense. India is negotiating a full exemption from the USTR's March 11th investigation into excess manufacturing capacity. If they fail here, punitive tariffs could derail India's energy transition. This negotiation is a shield for the future of Indian green energy and growth. To understand the battle, look at the math. The US implemented a 10% flat tariff on all imports on February 24th. This is the baseline every nation faces. Previously, Indian goods peaked at 50%, 10% baseline plus 15% reciprocal, plus a 25% punitive tariff linked to Russian oil purchases. It was an unsustainable burden. India successfully negotiated the removal of that 25% punitive tariff. The goal now is to lock in a final reciprocal tariff of 18%, creating a lead over China. This 18% rate gives Indian gems and leather a 17-point lead over China. In the world of high-volume trade, 17 points is more than a margin. It is a moat. This deal isn't just about lower costs. It's about permanent supply chain realignment. India is positioning itself as the only stable alternative for the West. But lower tariffs aren't a gift. India has committed to a massive $500 billion purchase plan over the next 5 years to secure this economic alliance. The energy sector accounts for up to $200 billion. India is pivoting away from Russian crude toward US LNG, LPG, and crude oil. This is a total energy security reset. Next is aviation, with over $100 billion committed. This fuels the massive fleet expansions for India's major carriers, focusing heavily on American-made Boeing aircraft. The commitment to Boeing, specifically the 737 MAX and 787s, is a critical anchor in this trade reset, linking Indian travel growth directly to American manufacturing. Technology takes at least $50 billion. This covers semiconductor inputs, AI server infrastructure, and the hardware required for India's rapidly expanding data center network. Agriculture and industrial inputs account for $25 billion. This includes coking coal for Indian steel, as well as American tree nuts and soy products. A broad-spectrum trade partnership. The U.S. gains through slashed duties on pecans, walnuts, apples, and bourbon whiskey. India is opening its market in exchange for industrial security. But New Delhi has maintained hard, red lines on dairy, meat, and GM products. Protecting 140 crore citizens and local farmers remains a non-negotiable priority. While trade is the focus in Washington, conflict is the reality in the Gulf. The most significant escalation in 24 hours occurred in the North Arabian Sea. The USS Spruance intercepted the Iranian-flagged cargo ship Touska on Sunday. This was the first direct naval seizure since the latest ceasefire was implemented. After a 6-hour warning, the U.S. Navy used its 5-inch gun for disabling fire. They blew a hole in the engine room to stop the Touska from evading the blockade. This disabling fire is an extreme measure, designed to neutralize a ship without sinking it. It signals a total shift in U.S. engagement rules for the region. The ship was returning from China's Gowlan port. U.S. intelligence suggests it carried sodium perchlorate, a critical precursor for solid rocket fuel, a direct challenge. These executions are a message. During conflict, the state will use the ultimate penalty to ensure total domestic compliance. No exceptions. Internal stability at any cost. Iran's military command has officially labeled this armed piracy. They claim it's a violation of the fragile ceasefire and have vowed a swift and severe retaliation. Tehran is positioning this as an act of war. They are framing the Touska incident as the spark that justifies a total exit from current diplomatic talks. The seizure has effectively paralyzed the planned peace talks. Today's negotiations in Islamabad were meant to be a breakthrough, but they have hit a dead end. Vice President J.D. Vance and the U.S. delegation arrived this morning only to find an Iranian boycott. Tehran has officially stated they have no plans to participate. The clock is ticking. The current ceasefire expires this Wednesday, April 22nd. Without a deal, the U.S. is prepared to escalate to Phase 2. The window is closing. Phase 2 means targeted strikes on Iranian infrastructure. The margin for error has disappeared, and the threat of regional war is now a baseline expectation. President Trump has issued a blunt warning. If no deal is reached, the U.S. is prepared to knock out every single power plant and bridge in Iran. Maximum pressure. This isn't just rhetoric, it's a tactical roadmap for a total infrastructure blockade designed to paralyze Iran's internal economy and military logistics. Strategy in action. The strategic waterway is now the center of a global crisis. Western-linked commercial traffic has halted completely. The Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed. The world is rerouting. The logistics map is being redrawn in real time. This shift toward air freight and safer maritime routes is driving costs to historic highs. Redirection. The markets are reacting with violence. Brent crude jumped over 4% today, testing the $120 range. The energy hedge is now the most critical trade in the market. High volatility. This isn't just a number on a screen. High oil prices are a tax on every consumer and every business. The longer the blockade lasts, the deeper the economic damage. Impact. Shipping alternatives are overwhelmed. Asian airlines report a 100% surge in demand for European routes as cargo shuns the Middle East hubs like Dubai and Doha. Pressure. Global trade is undergoing a permanent realignment. The risk of the Strait of Hormuz is being priced into every contract. Rerouting is the new normal for global logistics for the decade. Rerouting. The U.S. 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit is now actively patrolling. They are the hammer enforcing the total blockade of Iranian ports, total naval dominance, power. Their presence ensures that no unsanctioned cargo enters or leaves Iranian waters. This is an economic siege, enforced by the world's most capable naval force. Vigilance. Tensions are spilling over into neighboring territories. In Syria's Quneitra province, a sabotage plot linked to Hezbollah has been thwarted. A second front is opening. Escalation. This wasn't an isolated raid. Analysts believe this was a deliberate attempt to distract U.S. and Israeli naval assets away from the Gulf. A classic diversionary tactic in play. Security forces seized a civilian vehicle rigged with hidden rocket launching equipment. This level of tactical disguise shows the sophistication of the regional sabotage efforts. Hidden threats. The goal was clear: hit assets to force a redeployment. The second front is designed to stretch the Western naval blockade to its breaking point. Tactical pressure. Inside Iran, Tehran is tightening internal security to prevent domestic unrest. They are preparing for a long conflict and cannot afford dissent within the borders. Control. Security checkpoints and surveillance are now the norm. The Iranian state is in a survival posture, anticipating the U.S. Phase 2 response. Domestic lockdown in effect. Iran confirmed the execution of 2 individuals today on charges of spying for Mossad and planning sabotage operations. A brutal signal of internal control. No mercy. These executions are a message. During conflict, the state will use the ultimate penalty to ensure total domestic compliance. No exceptions. Internal stability at any cost. The Speaker of the Iranian Parliament stated they have learned from the 12-day war of 2025. They are prepared for diplomacy, but they will not retreat under pressure. Defiance. They view U.S. actions as calculated deception. Tehran's stance is one of defiant resilience, preparing for a confrontation they see as inevitable, preparing for the worst. What can we expect? The India-US partnership is more than a trade deal, it's a multi-generational economic anchor. India's commitment is a vote of confidence in Western energy. Integration. The $500 billion purchase plan is a catalyst for Indian industrial growth. By integrating with US tech and energy, India is creating a shield against global volatility. Growth strategy. Regarding Iran, expect volatility to be the baseline. Even if a strike is avoided, the trust required for a stable ceasefire has been shattered. The region is now permanently divided. Fragmentation. If Phase 2 strikes occur, the Iranian power grid and bridges will be targeted. This scenario would lead to a total blackout for Iran, with massive implications for global energy production. Crisis. Energy prices will carry a permanent geopolitical premium. We are no longer in an era of stable $70 oil. Every fluctuation in the Gulf will trigger a massive market reaction. Price shock. The risk to global production is now a constant. Markets will price in the possibility of infrastructure damage in Iran, leading to persistent upward pressure on energy costs. Inflation. Expect a permanent increase in logistics costs. The longer routes add time and fuel, creating a structural shift in how global companies manage their inventories and supply chains. Complexity. This rerouting adds thousands of miles and millions in fuel costs to the global economy. This is a structural inflation driver that central banks cannot control. Economic pressure. High stakes. We are witnessing the end of unconditional globalization. The world is splitting into strategic networks. India's choice to align with the US is a blueprint for survival. Strategic networks. The India-US BTA isn't just a trade deal, it's a regional anchor. It provides a stable alternative for Western capital and technology in an increasingly volatile Eastern landscape. Anchor of stability. Naval power is once again the primary driver of logistics costs. The USS Spruance didn't just stop a ship, it shifted the insurance premium for every vessel in the North Arabian Sea. Naval influence. US Phase 2 strategy is built on surgical dominance. By targeting infrastructure, the goal is to paralyze the opponent without a full-scale ground invasion. A new doctrine of engagement. Tactical focus. We are seeing a massive shift in inventory management. Companies are now holding more stock to mitigate the risk of naval blockades, leading to a permanent increase in carrying costs. Inventory shift. However, for nations like India, this is an opportunity. By securing American tech and energy, India is insulating its industrial base from regional shocks. Building resilience, Indian growth. India's solar and tech integration with the West is a long-term play for energy independence. This resilience is the ultimate competitive advantage in a volatile world. Energy future. Green growth. What must we focus on? Transparency. You must know exactly where your goods are moving. If your logistics chain relies on a single choke point like Hormuz, your risk profile is unacceptable. Risk management. Any business relying on Middle Eastern logistics needs a plan B today, not tomorrow. The cost of delay is now 100% higher in the air freight market. Proactive strategy, focus on action. Diversity in logistics is your only defense. Move toward multimodal shipping, combining sea, air, and land routes to ensure no single naval incident can paralyze you. Multimodal defense. Strategic diversity. Real-time monitoring is now a requirement. By using AI to track routes and anticipate disruptions, businesses can stay one step ahead of the geopolitical shifts in the Gulf. Tech-driven security. Focus on AI. If you find this helpful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. This is Yearn to Grow, and we will see you in the next video.